Well, the term overrated is a controversial one, and it always leads to some kind of discourse within the wrestling community. Now, we recently took to Twitter to ask you guys just who the most overrated wrestler is of all time, and we received some interesting and thought-provoking responses. And we've compiled the most popular responses, and some of these responses may even surprise you. So with that being said, join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 of the most overrated WWE wrestlers according to yourselves. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and our non-wrestling channel, Incredible. Number 10, Ryback. Okay, maybe that one's not a surprise. Now, Ryback is simply put one of the most unpopular names in wrestling, especially on social media. Whilst this is definitely true, at one point in time, Ryback was said to be the next big babyface in WWE. In 2012, WWE attempted to present Ryback as Bill Goldberg 2.0, and this formula resulted in Ryback becoming universally over with the fans, and he almost defeated CM Punk for the WWE title. The issue was that Ryback lacked originality, and his match quality wasn't exactly at the level WWE nor the fans expected. The issue with Ryback is that he believed he was the biggest thing in wrestling. He believed his own hype. Following his WWE departure, he would even make ludicrous claims that were clearly fabricated. Ryback had an inflated perception of his own talents, and that's why Ryback can ultimately be labelled as severely overrated. Number 9, Charlotte Flair. And one of the most surprising names that came up on our overrated wrestlers tweet was Charlotte Flair. Flair is widely regarded as one of the best in-ring talents in the female division, but the issue clearly lies in her character. Whilst Flair has had some tremendous matches during her career with the likes of Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks and Asuka, the problem comes to the surface when her character work is examined. Since her main roster debut in 2015, Flair has turned heel to babyface a number of times, but none of these turns have led to any type of character development. Whilst other top female stars in the division such as Becky Lynch, Bayley and Asuka have developed their characters and have actually offered something new, Flair has remained stagnant. Is this justification for labeling her as overrated? The jury is certainly out. Number 8, Alberto Del Rio. Former WWE Chairman Vince McMahon had high hopes for Alberto Del Rio when he arrived on the main roster in 2010. McMahon believed that Del Rio would be one of the top stars in the company, and McMahon devoted every resource possible into making this happen. Del Rio would win the 2011 Royal Rumble, 2011 Money in the Bank, and win the world title on several occasions. Did he warrant this level of push? Not really, as whilst his work was decent, it wasn't anything special, and even when Del Rio was in WWE as a full-time talent, most fans classed him as overrated. When Del Rio left WWE, his personal behaviour was brought into the spotlight, and his antics officially turned fans against him. Number 7, Nia Jax. Now, in terms of overrated female stars, Nia Jax was a popular shout on our tweet, and it's easy to see why. During Nia's time in WWE, she was heavily pushed and received huge moments such as winning the women's title at WrestleMania 34. Now, the problem with Nia Jax was that she was certainly overrated in the sense of how much the WWE valued her work. Nia's work was often classed as unsafe and reckless, and she would even break the nose of Becky Lynch in an act of pure negligence. It's hard to even pinpoint an excellent Nia Jax match during her career. Her work with Ronda Rousey was surprisingly good, but outside of that specific rivalry, her work was formulaic and rather underwhelming. Number 6, Bray Wyatt. Oh boy, this one's going to cause a ton of controversy. Now, a number of fans on Twitter suggested that Bray Wyatt was in fact the most overrated wrestler of all time. This is an interesting suggestion because it brings into reality that every fan seeks something different from pro wrestling. Now, it's undeniable that Wyatt brings a sense of creativity and curiosity to his characters, but that isn't for everyone. Some fans prefer pure wrestling rather than anything that drifts away from the fundamentals, and those who were critical of Wyatt in this sense may question Wyatt's in-ring work. It's been a topic of debate on social media since Wyatt's WWE 2022 return as to if Wyatt has even had a standout match in WWE. Now, to answer this, his work with Daniel Bryan, particularly his match against him in 2014 and 2020, were excellent and showed fans that Wyatt can really go in the ring when the time comes. But do you think he's really overrated? Let us know in the comments down below. Number 5, CM Punk. A former WWE and AEW World Champion, CM Punk has always been a polarizing figure in the world of pro wrestling. Whilst Punk labels himself as the best in the world, some fans simply don't see it and see Punk as a president of his own fan club. Without question, Punk has had some all-time classic matches with the likes of John Cena, Daniel Bryan and The Undertaker, but where fans become critical is with Punk's own valuation of his work. For instance, one of the reasons that Punk walked out of WWE in 2014 was that he truly believed he should have main evented WrestleMania 29. Whilst this may be true, if WWE rewarded the most consistent worker of the year with a main event slot, The Rock vs John Cena was simply the biggest match to deliver financially, so that's why WWE took that course of action. Number 4. The Ultimate Warrior. The 1980s were a vastly different time to be a pro wrestler. Wrestling wasn't so much about what you could do inside the ring, it was focused on appearance and charisma. This was clearly the case with the push of the Ultimate Warrior, who'd been labelled as one of the most overrated wrestlers in WWE history for the past 4 decades. The Warrior's work was fine in the 80s as it was perfect for the time, but as wrestling evolved in the 90s, Warrior was left behind. His WWE runs in the 90s were complete flops, and when Warrior had his final WWE run in 1996, fans had already become accustomed to the incredible in-ring work with the likes of Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Number 3. Ronda Rousey. And when Ronda Rousey burst onto the scene in WWE in 2018, all eyes were on her. Rousey was a credible, legitimate talent who was dedicated to becoming the best pro wrestler she could possibly be. It was a surprise to see the amount of people name-dropping Rousey in the Overrated Wrestlers tweet, simply because Rousey has had so many acclaimed matches since 2018. Rousey's debut match at WrestleMania 34 was arguably the best match of the night, and some could argue that it was even better than Styles vs Nakamura. Rousey's had decent to excellent matches with the likes of Nia Jax, Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks and Bayley, so it's evident that she knows what she's doing inside this squared circle. The overrated comments likely come from how Rousey was instantly presented as a superior star upon her debut. Now this is true, but at the end of the day, WWE is a business and they had to take advantage of Rousey's star power and the cross-promotion interest from fans of MMA. Number 2. Goldberg. WCW's presentation of Goldberg was focused on Goldberg squashing people as quickly as possible. This kept Goldberg's in-ring limitations hidden, but this couldn't last forever, and when Goldberg eventually had matches over 5 minutes, he was exposed for not being too great in the ring. During the Monday Night Wars, Goldberg was extensively called out for being overrated, and this continued into his run in WWE between 2003 to 2004. Goldberg's match quality during his initial WWE run wasn't the best, and his matches with the likes of Chris Jericho, Triple H and even Brock Lesnar failed to deliver what fans expected. Now in Goldberg's defense, he's never once claimed to be the best in-ring talent in the world, and Goldberg remains fully aware of his limitations. Goldberg isn't just criticized extensively by fans, as he's also had other wrestlers calling him out for his in-ring work. Most notably Bret Hart, who makes a habit of calling Goldberg overrated and dangerous every time he can get, and this without question, fairly or unfairly continues to influence the fan base's perception of the WWE Hall of Famer. And number 1, who else but Hulk Hogan? Now, the most popular response in our Overrated Wrestlers tweet was Hulk Hogan by a landslide. Hogan, whilst being one of the most influential wrestlers of all time, lacked in-ring credibility, and his in-ring work was often put into question. Hogan, similarly to the Ultimate Warrior, was the perfect persona for the 80s. However, Hogan, unlike Warrior, was rather smart in the 90s as he realized that the colourful persona wouldn't really work during the Monday Night Wars, and they subsequently introduced fans to Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Hollywood Hogan and the NWO run riot during the Monday Night Wars and certainly helped elevate Hogan's character and body of work. The argument of Hogan being overrated clearly comes down to personal preference. Every top guy in WWE has had severe scrutiny attached to them. The difference is that other top guys such as Stone Cold Steve Austin, John Cena and Roman Reigns consistently put on tremendous matches, and they shut down any debate of them being overrated from an in-ring perspective. But there you have it folks, 10 of the most overrated WWE wrestlers, well, according to yourselves. Let us know your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.